Yes, I believe IT does have you muted currently.
But are you unable to hear?
Can you hear us?
Apparently not.
Shake your head, yes.
No, you can't hear us, so we need to figure out how to get the sound.
Okay, Vern, are you over in the IT room? All right, so I'll speak to that here. We are trying to get our Zoom call up and going. Obviously, if you have participated in some prior meetings, you know, as we do, that we've had some trouble with sound quality on the conference call number. So we decided, we voted last meeting to try a Zoom call for this meeting, as well as our conference call, as well as our live streaming. And so we're trying to make sure the commissioners are mic'd up for those three platforms. I've asked the administrator for the Zoom to mute everybody,
Hello.
so you should be muted now. If you cannot hear us, I know James has done a great job. He held up a little card that said, "Are we muted?" If you cannot hear us, if you could let us know that as well, we should be in good shape. So we're going to press on, and we'll work on getting a few of the Zoom bugs ironed out as we go. So we're not going to have audience introductions either for the conference callers or the attendees on Zoom. So sorry, I keep getting Zoom messages on my screen.
Shake your head.
Yes, I believe that all the Zoom members are muted.
The question is, can they hear us?
You didn't join with audio, maybe.
I think, whoa.
We're going to get a big feedback on this thing.
Vern?
I think we ought to drop the Zoom and go with that normal. They're on the other, go on the other part.
To make sure everybody's
Didn't they dial in too? Are they dialed in? They're dialed into their number. We're getting feedback over the two systems. Mine are on. Maybe. I'm muted. So. Got big feedback.
Okay, Alex, can you hear me? Sure, he's scrambling to try to get the problem fixed. Something going right, and then all of a sudden got this big echo.
Got a big bunch of feedback. Is it because of the other system?
I'm thinking it's because Zoom and this are on.
I do too.
Do we have anybody on the conference call?
Yes.
You know.
Yes, there are a few.
So I will probably drop Zoom.
I think we only have one guy on the Zoom.
Right.
So we could send him to
two.
the conference call and try Zoom next time.
James, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank
Can
you.
you hear him?
We can hear you now, but we're getting a huge echo
We have to drop
feedback.
one of these systems.
If you want to stay on, I guess that's fine. If we wanted to call in on the conference call number, then I think we would just abandon Zoom.
What happened?
Yeah, we just got rid of the echo. James, can you still hear me? Okay, thank you. Okay. So, yes. Yeah, I've got mine turned up.
Volume off, Jane.
Yes, it is on.
I have this off too.
So James, maybe now you're okay to stay on Zoom if you care to. If you have issues, you're more than welcome to go off of Zoom and call in on the conference call number. Do you have that phone number, sir?
I don't think you have audio playing out of your speaker. Sorry, Jay.
Yeah, it's at 86.
Is it?
Yeah,
Is it turned on to the Zoom though?
Yeah, Jay.
yeah. James, can you hear me? Okay. Apparently you can hear me. We could not hear you reply. So, and I don't see that you're muted currently either. So, we'll move on. I'm sorry. We'll work these out as we go. Amendments to the agenda, gentlemen?
I do not have any.
I have no, sir. Am I supposed to use this?
Yeah, for live stream.
I do not.
Okay.
If you wouldn't mind just telling me if they want to make a comment, it'll have to be through that this time.
Okay. So IT has indicated to me, folks, if you want to speak during public comment, you will need to do that over the conference call number, which was posted on the agenda, which is on the county website. So for some reason, Jim, and you're the only one that I see that's on Zoom.
There's actually 3 others.
Oh, yeah, I see it now. Yep. So if you want public comment, folks, then you'll have to call in on the conference call number. So we've got a little issue on the next to the last item on the agenda, consideration of COVID compensation for public health employees. So I'm going to move to postpone that item of business until August the 28th.
What's the issue?
We'll discuss that. We can do it now, I guess.
Well, are you gonna do it during the move? I mean, I'll second it.
Okay.
I wanna
All right.
hear why.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I'm not asking you to agree. I just need a second. It's been moved and seconded to postpone the item on the agenda, consideration of COVID compensation for public health. Discussion. I met with Donna yesterday to go through all the details of this. Those employees had submitted hours for the 3 ladies that were in public health. Well, they didn't specify exactly what those hours were for. Donna and I believe those were hours worked beyond their regular work day for COVID. They were not. They were total hours worked for the month of July. So it's just, we just got the wrong information. I'm not going to call it the wrong information. I assumed it was extra hours worked, and it wasn't. It was total hours worked. So I've asked them to go back and sort that out for us, and then we could deal with it.
And,
in
are any
all.
of them just salaried? Because salaried aren't eligible, we'd have to do that.
These are hourly.
Hourlies, yeah. And that brings up a good point, Commissioner Kanda. If we're going to expend CARES Act money, then if somebody works beyond their regular workday scope and responsibility, we can pay them through that CARES Act money, whether they're exempt or non-exempt.
And I agree with that.
I think there was another grant too that was eligible.
Yeah, but I agree with what you said about the CARES Act money, but I think that needs to go through the CARES Act
Right.
committee as opposed to this group.
Yes, I agree. I'm just throwing that out as
Okay.
information.
Thank you.
But I think we would have been within our scope to vote on this today because we have to pay them to get reimbursed.
Right. But from what I understood Alyssa say when she, last day, there is another grant for 200, whatever it was, that was eligible for this need.
Right.
So we just need to decide which one
Right.
it is, so there's a little more work to do.
I agree
Right.
with that.
Yeah,
We
and
really
I'm-
need to get I agree with you, Mr. Chairman. We need to get the hours squared away. I looked at the spreadsheet they sent, and I was
Right.
confused also as to what's regular hours and what was excess.
Right. And I spoke to both the employees and to Donna this morning, And they do turn in timesheets with, I think there's 8 columns, because 90% of their hours have to be charged to a grant.
Correct.
And so they keep track of what's kids council, what's immunization, what's COVID, and so on and so forth. So one employee told me this morning that all of her hours in the month of July were charged to COVID. She has not done her other grant work because she's been doing COVID work,
Only.
OEM work, and public health director work. So I said, we just need to get these hours sorted out. Number one, I suspect most of these hours are going to be paid for out of that CARES Act, but we need to know exactly what was outside of their regular day. And
Right.
so these were total hours worked that they submitted, and I didn't realize that. So I was thankful that I discovered that this morning, but we'd have had a mess on our hands. So further discussion about postponement? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of postponing the consideration of COVID compensation for public health until August 28th, say aye. Commissioner, where were we? Commissioner Kanda.
Aye.
Commissioner Prince.
Aye.
And Commissioner Flower votes aye. Motion carries. Any other amendments to the agenda?
I have none, sir.
Okay. Commissioner Kanda? No. All right, we'll move on. We do not have any minutes to approve today, so commissioner items. Commissioner Kanda, would you like to begin, sir?
Sure. Since our last meeting, a couple things that are worth bringing up to you all is we had a great set of interviews on the 10th, I thought. We're going to discuss that at the end during this meeting. So I appreciated the process and the enthusiasm from people wanting to apply. Also worked the CARES Act workshop, which we did yesterday, all three of us, which has got a lot of work to do yet. And you can bring anything up on that later, process or anything.
Go ahead if you want.
That was good. I mean, we've got a COVID coordinator. We're looking at an IGA between the two towns and us. Press release that's going to be out soon, and we're going to come up with an application so people know that are eligible can apply, and then work the grant process. So I thought that was good. Also involved with the airport, AWAS is going along fine. We've got the contractor out there, AWI, engaged in the engineering piece of it right now, and they'll start work on it soon from their point of view to build the pedestal. We have a contractor, or not a contractor, but the volunteer work is going on with the work in kind that the airport guys are doing. That's going along fine. Trench is dug, and the electrician is working, getting material list to the engineering, Armstrong. Also, I did talk with Carmel and on the fiber program. We brought that up last meeting. They've had some problems because of COVID. It's been basically a system problem that went down with a computer they had. But they are putting together I asked them for a program review with all of us, and they'll get that to us as soon as possible. And also CenturyLink is looking at a meeting they're wanting to have to bring everybody together. I think they were proposing the 20th. Did you all get the invite from Kunkelman? I'll have to look and see who was on that list. But, and short of that, that brings us up to speed for now. And I was on that call last night for a while. Got bumped off, but with the economic task force guys, a lot new there.
Okay. Did you get an invite from Kunkelman?
I got to go look. He was going to send it out, and he told me the 20th, and I haven't even seen that yet either, personally. Okay. But if I have it, I'll send it forward. Okay. Matter of fact, I'll look right now.
Thank you. Commissioner Prince?
Thank you, sir. Obviously, I attended the interviews on the 10th, the task force meetings yesterday, and the COVID relief fund meeting yesterday. I got a couple things I want to just bring up. Ambulance service down in the eastern portion of the county, Wetmore and surrounding areas. Rye Fire apparently is going to move forward with a special ambulance district. I spoke with Tom yesterday from the hospital district. His name just slipped my mind, his last name.
Shepherd.
Thank you, Tom Shepard. I spoke with him yesterday, and he indicated that the hospital district and ambulance corps would continue to service that area for the time being, but he did caution me that at some point they're going to turn around and say, you know, we just can't afford to do this anymore. So we'll wait and see what happens there. So far, our ambulance corps has been excellent in terms of handling all calls down there. There aren't a tremendous amount of them, but it does cost money to send the ambulance and the crew out there. They're not getting reimbursed like everywhere else in the county. Their complaints are obviously very valid in my mind, at least, but we're working towards a solution. So nobody in the eastern portion of the county is without ambulance service as we speak, nor will they be for the foreseeable future. I also want to bring up the strategic plan. I was thinking about that yesterday and the last couple of days. We spent a tremendous amount of money developing a strategic plan. It was an excellent plan. And the one thing we all said to each other is the last thing we want is another strategic plan in the bottom drawer of our file cabinet. Apparently that's where it is, and that's what's happened so far. We need to get this thing moving. We need to start following what the plan says and what we agreed to. I'm disappointed that we haven't been working on it. Now I recognize with all the fires that we've had to put out in terms of COVID and personnel and all that, this is so easy to stick on the back burner, but I feel we really need to move forward. I would almost recommend asking Cheryl Trent to come back down here and pay her to do that, to help us energize that again. I think it's a very important part
Can I
of our...
comment on that?
Sure.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because I have talked to Cheryl and last week on just that matter. As a matter of fact, she's got several things she's doing in this area and volunteered to stop by and discuss it with us to help us see where we are. And I did tell her, in fact, the same thing you did. We've been tied up with other things, but we have been, most of the things that we have been doing significantly have been fallen in line with the strategic plan, but we need to get it organized so that people can see that we have done things, and what we haven't gotten into, we need to put that on the burner, just like you said. So
Right.
she said she'd be more than happy to. She didn't mention being paid, so we can discuss that.
The reason I brought that up is because Westcliff, at their town meeting, had some of the same issues. They've implemented several of the items
Right.
that were brought up, and they did agree to pay her for several more visits to make sure they got on track. And that's
She
really
wanted to coincide
and that
with that.
spurred me on to say, hey, you know what, we really need to get this moving also. So
So I'll get back with her and
Good.
we'll set it
good,
up.
let's get her down here. Let's get this thing at least on a
Yeah,
downward
I
slope.
bring that up, and I'm glad you remembered.
Thank you.
Anything else, sir?
That's all I have.
All right, thank you. So as far as the calendar goes, I have kind of attended the same meetings. Obviously, we interviewed emergency manager candidates on Monday. Tuesday was the Coronavirus Relief Fund Committee meeting that we all attended. And then last night, I also attended the Republican Central Committee meeting. That's why I was not on the Zoom call with Economic Recovery Task Force, the task force meeting last night. So, and then I've got some things I want to go over this morning. Number one, it's not on the agenda, but I'm going to move to ratify the handwritten checks that we have done. We had
I'll second it.
thank you. It's been moved and seconded to ratify the action of signing the handwritten checks. We have that document. I'm trying to get mine. There it is. And I guess the reason I wanted to bring the document up specifically, it's larger than normal, so I wanted to address that. $121,708.42. The two big ticket items on there were our lease payment on the Justice Center ground, so we made our third. It was within a few dollars of being half of $59,639. So We did make that lease payment. I believe that is our third one. And then we also wrote a check to pay for the new coroner's vehicle, a 2020 Dodge. So between those two, it was $97,000, yes.
Just for the audience, that's the coroner's vehicles are reimbursable.
Yeah, not 100%, but 75% of that it was grant money, and we had to come up with 25%. But we still needed to pay for the entire vehicle, and then we'll get reimbursed. Thank you. Yeah. So, Kelly, the Justice Center payment was $59,639. Total was $121,708.42. You're welcome. Further discussion on the motion to ratify? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of ratifying signing the handwrittens, say aye. Commissioner Kenda?
Aye.
Commissioner Prince?
Aye.
Commissioner Flower votes aye. Motion carries. Thank you. And then finally, Kara will appreciate this. She suffered through this process with me. We finally got notification of the Community Oriented Policing Services Grant Award. That award itself was $125,000. The grant was $176,750. But there was a local match of $51,750. So the grant itself was $125,000. We've been fighting this for 3 weeks? At least 3 weeks, if not longer, dealing with the portal out of Washington, D.C. and electronic signatures and so on and so forth. So between Shannon and Kara and myself, we finally got that hurdle leapt, and we got confirmation day before yesterday that is now official. So the $51,750, this is a 3-year grant. This COPS grant's a 3-year grant, and the $51,750 over a 3-year period is being paid by the school. So it didn't cost the county anything on this grant, so that was pretty cool. And then also, I think the reasons will become clear. I'm also going to move that we accept Alex Anderson's resignation. And I'll hold comment if there is a second.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to accept Alex Anderson's resignation. Discussion?
If I may, sir.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I sent a note to him last night. I just want to comment that I think Alex did a fabulous job for the county. I'm really sorry to see him go. You couldn't be more professional when someone says, I will stay here until a replacement for the county is found so that we're not leaving the county in a lurch. And I just want to comment how much I appreciate the job he has done for us.
Thank you, sir. Council, got a question for you. I guess a two-part question. Number one, is it necessary? And number two, is it appropriate to read Alex's letter of resignation into the record?
It's not necessary, but you certainly may if you wish.
Yeah, I think I would like to. If nothing else, to speak to what Commissioner Prince just said. So,
I agree.
Yeah. So I will read this letter of resignation. BOCC, please accept this letter as formal notification that I am resigning from my position as IT assistant and the public information officer for Custer County. I will continue working until a new emergency manager is hired and feels comfortably transitioned. Then I will leave. I have recently received an offer to serve as a firefighter EMT at Rye Fire Protection District, and after careful consideration, I am excited to explore this new path in my career journey. Thank you so much for the opportunity to work for Custer County for the past 2 years. I've greatly enjoyed and appreciated the opportunities I've had to grow as a dispatcher, IT/GIS assistant, OEM assistant, and PIO. I truly believe the skills gained during the last 2 years will lead to a long and fulfilling career in the fire service. I will do everything possible to wrap up my duties and orient the new emergency manager to their position over the coming weeks. Please let me know if there's anything else I can do to help during this transition. I wish the county continued success, and I hope to stay in touch in the future. Sincerely, Alex Anderson.
That's good, and I'd like to comment to you.
Go ahead, sir.
That is excellent. Alex has done a great job stepping into the vacancies that we've had, and he's done multiple roles, and I thought very professionally, very good, and he's a good guy. I appreciate him. Going to miss him.
Yeah, certainly I felt like he was a valued employee of the county and willing to go beyond the scope. During the peak of the COVID pandemic in Custer County, he lived over there at Search and Rescue. I was in there multiple times, and I never went in there that he wasn't sitting there working. So just really appreciated his time and commitment to that effort, as well as everything else. As we know, he's done a great job with the technology portion and helped Vern out tremendously. So just wanted to publicly thank Alex for his service to the county. Further discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of accepting the resignation of Alex Anderson, say aye. Commissioner Kanda?
Aye.
Commissioner Prince?
Aye.
Commissioner Flower votes aye. Motion carries. And then that brings us to probably a point where we need to consider writing a vacancy announcement and or having a discussion about moving forward. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I spoke to Vern Roth about this, our IT director, and I said, do you feel we should fill this position immediately? And his response to me at the time, and certainly he can change that discussion, but at the time he told me that he would like to take kind of a wait-and-see attitude, whether it was necessary or not.
Yeah, I actually had the same conversation with Vern, just in passing in the parking lot, and over different reasons for that, because he said things are coming around with the equipment and what we're doing. So I think that's fair, probably.
So I would recommend that at this point at least, we do not post it until Vern, who truly was truly oversaw what Alex did, or that position did. Most of the job, he filled in so many different areas. I'd like to wait and hear what Vern say to us, that he feels it's a necessity before we move forward.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I certainly appreciate what you're saying. I'm just a little nervous about, number one, not having a PIO, and number two, that we go back and Vernon gets overwhelmed. Obviously, I think Vernon is the type of person who will tell us if that's happening, so I respect his opinion about that. But yeah, I certainly wouldn't feel comfortable going months and months without filling this position, whatever that position looks like. It may be a multiple titled job. I don't know. I don't think we're at the point where we need a full-time PIO, and I'm not sure Vernon would agree that we need a full-time GIS assistant either. So I don't know, but I appreciate what you're saying.
Can I make a suggestion?
You may.
Can I meet with Donna Hobby and Vern and get their input? I'll come back and make a recommendation as to whether we should move forward now, wait, or just can the whole idea.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Aren't you the lead for?
Yeah, on personnel. So if that's acceptable, I'll go ahead and I'll follow up on that and come back with a recommendation if you're okay with that.
That sounds good to me. Commissioner Kanda? Yeah.
Good.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. That concludes my report. Upper Arkansas Water Conservancy District report. The next meeting is tomorrow, 1 p.m. I will attend that meeting live. So I will be out of the office tomorrow going to Salida for Upper Ark. So I'll report back at our next meeting. Attorney items?
On Monday, I sat in on the interviews for the new director of the Office of Emergency Management. You'll recall from the last meeting, we talked about a collection letter the county had received, or specifically Gary Hyde as the supervisor of the Road and Bridge Department. I did respond to that. Gary had a record of the 811 call he made for the locate for that line. Somehow that was not, apparently wasn't sent on to CenturyLink for whatever reason, but I responded saying the county was going to decline paying for that because the county, or Gary Hyde, followed the correct procedure and there was no negligence on the part of the county that led to that damage for that buried cable. As usual, I've worked with Jackie Hobby on a few things, wrote at least one letter, discussed some other matters with her. And then the other thing I just started doing, I was looking at and for the benefit of anybody who's listening in, our OUTS regulations. That's an acronym, OWTS, standing for On-Site Wastewater Treatment Systems. I looked at those regulations, and particularly in light of the fact that our Board of Health has sort of come to the forefront now, I think those need to be rewritten because it still talks about the Board of County Commissioners sitting as the Board of Health. I don't think we even have to talk about that. We can just talk about the Board of Health and some other things that I think are obsolete in there. There's still a provision for variances where people can try to do something else, get a variance from the septic system regulations, and Jackie says there are no variances allowed now, so we need to update this. And I plan to work with her on getting an updated version for the Board of Health to approve, just sitting as the Board of Health. And that's all I have to report.
Thank you, sir. I've got a question since we're on attorney items. Had a phone call the other day. Actually, Kara took it. It was a request to be on the agenda to speak about or to have public comment about the Board of Health being reorganized, reseated at Board of Health instead of county commissioners, private citizens. And so I instructed Kara to convey to that person that that's probably a county commissioner discussion and not a Board of Health discussion. Would you agree with that?
Yes, the Board of Health is created by the Board of County Commissioners, and the Board of County Commissioners elected to appoint itself, and it would have to be the Board of County Commissioners that change that. So
Okay.
it would be appropriate to have
Go
it.
to Board of County Commissioners, not Board of Health.
Correct.
And I think that was the final verdict, if you would. Okay, all right. So I just wanted to make sure we were on the same track there, or the correct track at least. So, all right, thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Administrative assistant items, I don't know. I don't know if we've allowed enough time or not. That's my only question. You're good? Okay. Apparently, we did allow enough time. Thank you, ma'am. Unfinished business, gentlemen.
Do we want public comment?
Yes, we do, but it's not on my agenda, so,
It's on mine.
okay.
Above unfinished business. Right after the admin
Yeah.
assistant, which probably.
I either deleted it, it's not on here. I either deleted it or I don't have any idea. Thank you, sir, I appreciate it. So, yeah, that's weird. Give me just a second. So we will have public comment. As far as I know, if you want to have public comment, you will still need to call in, although Alex may have gotten that fixed. So At this time, we'll try it. Public comment, if you have anything to address the commissioners about that's not on the agenda, now would be the appropriate time.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, go ahead.
this is Cindy Fowler. I would like to request to put our reimbursement back on the agenda. We all have our hours put together, and we can email those to you, or even just say them out loud if you like.
We cannot put it back on the agenda. That time has come and gone. We've already we've already voted to delete that item from this agenda. So in my opinion, gentlemen, unless you overrule me, I think that's going to have to go on the August 28th agenda.
I agree. We still have to talk more than hours too, so there's more to it.
Right. No, I agree. It needs to be on the August
Yeah.
28th agenda.
Yeah. So if I think the best thing we can do now is for you to forward that either to Donna or to the commissioners or to Kara. Somehow we need to get that information in front of us so that we can have that discussion on August the 28th.
I believe Rhonda did send it to the chairman, and then I had a correction from March hours. So you should have all of it.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll deal with that then on the 28th of August. Thank you.
What I wanted to mention too is Bill is absolutely right. Up until now, we have had our own CARES Act for public health. They have paid our regular time March through June.
Understood. Yeah, I think the grant that Commissioner Kanda was referring to that Alyssa mentioned, though, was a different grant. It wasn't the CARES Act grant. It was something else. We'll have to check the recording or the minutes to see what that was. But yeah, the CARES Act, the Coronavirus Relief Fund project, will make up the difference between they'll reimburse the county for the difference between the hours that you've already been paid for out of your CARES Act to be paid out of the Coronavirus Relief Fund. So, other comments, ma'am?
Rhonda, they have already paid us for the time March through June for our regular pay.
Was that a question? I'm sorry, I didn't quite understand.
Our regular pay from March through June has already been reimbursed and used through the grant that was given to public health.
Thank you, appreciate that. Yeah, so we will just be concerned with hours beyond the regular scope of work. And I think Beth is on the phone this morning. I would ask Beth if you can hear me. If not, Mrs. Flower, if you could pass on the message. I don't have Beth's email address. I thought it was Beth at Custer, but I guess not. So if you could just shoot me a quick email, I would appreciate it. Okay, anything else, ma'am?
No, sir, thank you.
Further public comment? Any other public comment for the commissioners? Okay, we'll have another opportunity at the end of the meeting as well. So we'll move on. Any other unfinished business, gentlemen, you're aware of?
I have none.
Commissioner Kanda?
None.
Okay, nor do I. New business?
Unmuted.
We will allow for public comment on any of the agenda items prior to voting if it's an action item, so we'll move on. The first item of business, consideration of a letter of engagement with Piper Sandler and Company.
So I'll take the
I
lead on
would
this one.
defer the floor to Mr. Kanda, Commissioner Kanda, because we asked him to pursue that. Yes, sir.
Right, and we did. We got the letter back, been disseminated, and we had a chance to talk about it last meeting. We agreed to bring it on this meeting to consider, and so I move that we accept the letter of engagement as they presented on the revised version. and it met the criteria that we had asked them to do. So I move we accept it.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded to accept the letter of engagement from Piper Sandler. I'm assuming you're referring to the document dated August the 4th.
Right.
Okay. Further discussion? Yeah, I appreciate you following up on that. Thank you. Council, did you have an opportunity to look at that letter of engagement?
No, I don't believe I saw a copy of that one. I must have not been in the loop on it.
Okay.
But does it address what the concern was before, as far as that we're not asking them to go ahead with bond issues or anything else right now?
That's right, it did, and I'll forward it to you again. I'm
Okay.
sure.
I may have gotten it and accidentally deleted it. I'm famous for that.
Okay.
I'll forward it, and I think we're fine pending.
If I see something I don't like, I'll let you know.
Appreciate it. Further discussion? Hearing none, will public comment? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of approving the letter or accepting the letter of engagement with Piper Sandler, say aye. Commissioner Kanda?
Aye.
Commissioner Prince?
Aye.
Commissioner Flower votes aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Right when I wanted to talk to Miss Kara, she stepped out of the room, so we will get that signed and sent back. I think the chair's signature was the only one required. I just closed that document, but do you still
think
have it
so.
open or not?
No.
Okay, that's fine. Next item of business, consideration of approval of the 2019 audit, the draft copy of that. Group's pleasure.
I'll move that we approve the 2019 audit that was presented to us last week.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the 2019 audit draft. Discussion. Yeah, I thought the whole process went pretty well. I learned a couple new things as well, so I thought they had done a good job. I'll throw this out. I serve on another board, and of course their books are audited every year, and I attended a meeting about responsibilities of board members and so on and so forth, and there was an interesting thing brought up. The National Association of the group of the board that I sit on recommends a new auditor every 5 years. That's why I asked our auditor how long that his company had been auditing our county. Over 20 years. And so when that comment was made, I asked during that meeting, I said, well, can you expound on why that's the case? And they said, certainly. And we recommend it nationwide to go through cycles of auditors so that you don't fall into this trench of the same old thing year after year after year. They said, now we understand it's hard to get different auditors, but he said, in lieu of changing auditors, you should have different people from that company every year or two so that you get fresh eyes on that. So I thought that was an interesting perspective. We certainly do it on the board that I sit on. Every 5 years we hire a new auditor, but just want to throw that out for thought. Further discussion on the motion to approve? Public comment? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of approving the draft of the 2019 audit, say aye. Commissioner Kanda?
Aye.
Commissioner Prince?
Aye.
Commissioner Flower, aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
May I make one comment?
Yes, sir,
if
go
I may,
ahead.
please? Thank you, sir. I just want to let the audience know that while the audit did find, and it's very common to find, areas that can be improved, there were no glaring errors. There were no major issues that were noted in the audit. So overall, our financial department has done an outstanding job. Just some minor tweaks to make it better, but overall it was an excellent audit in my opinion.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, they used to call them qualified or unqualified audits. This one, in the old terms, was an unqualified. They had no issues, so thanks for your comments. Appreciate that. Next item of business is consideration of the Rotary Scholarship. I would turn the floor over to Commissioner Prince, since this was his request.
Thank you, sir. I asked James Tymeier to join us, and he is on Zoom with us right now, and I really appreciate him joining us. There is an issue with the matching grant that we've already funded to Rotary, and the question was, how do we want to handle it? So, Jim, if you don't mind, can I turn the floor over to you, and you can explain the issue to us and give us the options where we can move forward? Thank you, sir.
I'm trying to get there, sorry.
I see it.
Yeah, Jim, we can see that you're speaking, but we cannot hear you. We'll try to get you unmuted. My screen says you are unmuted, but yeah. Can you check your computer and see if you're unmuted? Okay, all right. He says he is. So we'll give Alex a second here to see. And we may have to have you call in to the number, the conference call number. James, I apologize. I know it's frustrating.
And I have that number if you need it, sir.
Yeah, I think he's asking for the number. Go
Okay,
ahead.
are you ready?
Yeah.
1-503-300-6854, and the conference code 940104. Let me repeat it. 1-503-300-6854, conference code 940104.
Yeah, I just got a chat message from somebody, didn't say who, maybe Alex, but said something about your computer being muted, which we know that was by design, but we should be able to pick him up on mine. So
I've got several chat comments that are not being heard. I tried moving the small mic a little closer. I hope that'll help, and I'll do my best to speak up.
yeah, we definitely, I was just reviewing the chats too while we're waiting. Some people can hear it all and some people can't, so I'm not sure.
Mr. Chairman, can I make a suggestion? While we're waiting for Mr. Tymeier to call in, should we move on to the next item? and then come
He's
back?
trying right now, it looks
Oh,
like.
I see.
So.
He's got a nice phone in front of him.
We do not hear you yet, James.
I just heard something that said line unmuted.
Yeah, they just unmuted you in the IT office, James. We can hear you now, sir. Thank you for dialing in to us. We appreciate it. I think you probably heard Commissioner Kanda. He is deferred to you, sir, so the chair will give you the floor to address the scholarship issue.
Okay, just, you can hear me now?
Yes, if you can speak just a little louder, that would be great.
Okay. One, I'm no longer on the Zoom.
Okay.
And first, okay.
Sounds like you're getting a lot of feedback as well, huh?
Everybody that's on the phone needs to mute their phones except for Jim.
Okay. All right, I moved away. Is this better?
Yes, very good. Thank you, sir.
Well, first, let me say that I'm getting feedback from my computer.
Maybe Alex can mute everybody but him. I don't know.
Go ahead, Jim. Try it again.
All right.
That's working.
First, let me say that the reason I'm talking with you guys today is on behalf of the Rotary Foundation. And I believe that you gentlemen have received a copy of my email to Jay Prince.
That is correct.
And attached to that was a letter to Cynthia Armendariz, who is the director of the Colorado Opportunity Scholarship Initiative. And I guess before I launch into anything, do you have any questions specific to those two communications?
No, I don't think so. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, so just as a bit of background, I understand that the state may have contacted the county some time ago, maybe late April or early May, to apprise the county of the fact that COSI had available matching funds that could be used for student scholarships. And I further understand that the county then got a hold of the school got a hold of the Rotary Foundation, and that we had been providing scholarships over the years, and that further in dispersing or administering the funds, it needed to be a tax-exempt organization, which Rotary is. We're a 501c3 as far as the foundation. So we agreed to administer on your behalf, as your agent, funds for scholarships. Subsequently, in May, before graduation, both county and Rotary awarded scholarships to deserving students, which would have encompassed the use of those matching funds. The end of June, I received from BOCC a Colorado State grant agreement. Gentlemen, this agreement is a contract 24 pages long and an additional 6 pages of exhibits. I had given Mr. Prince a copy of that, and I believe he has reviewed it. But my review of the agreement, I simply was not willing to sign it. That it contained some provisions which were just not acceptable as a treasurer of a volunteer organization, and further that it included personal indemnity and personal guarantees, which I was not willing to provide, nor was anyone else in the foundation. Further to that point, I have advised COSI of that. They have withdrawn the $3,500 that they were going to give us, $1,750 to Rotary and $1,750 to the county. You guys are probably aware that you have given the foundation a check in the amount of $1,750, which would have been used for your half of the matching fund scholarship or your awarded scholarship. And I guess in closing, the foundation has agreed to fund the full scholarship that we awarded without the $1,750 of COSI funds. And I guess my question to you is, acknowledge the fact that I have $1,750 of county funds, and I'm asking, what shall we do with those?
Okay, thank you, sir. Commissioner Prince has a comment, but I want to ask a question real quick for clarification, if I may. Did the student receive the scholarship?
Yes, both students. You awarded, bring the board, the county commissioners awarded scholarship in the amount of $3,500, and the foundation awarded a scholarship. In fact, we awarded 10 scholarships, one of which included the BOSI matching fund.
Okay. And then for clarification as well, the school reached out to the county commissioners. We did not reach out to the school. They approached us and wanted to know if we wanted to get involved in this COSI thing. I certainly appreciate where you're coming from. Seemed like it spiraled a little bit out of control with the paperwork. I have not visited with the school counselor about that, but I will. Chair recognizes Commissioner Prince for comments.
Thank you, sir. And Jim, thank you for coming on and explaining that to us. I'm going to try and speak loudly because I'm getting comments that not being heard very well. I asked this to be on the agenda for today. We agreed to match a fund from the state on a grant. Since that parameter has changed with the Rotary Foundation choosing not to move forward on their share and funding it out of their own funds as opposed to a grant, I felt it was appropriate for the commissioners to approve that we recognize that what was originally approved as a matching grant was no longer a matching grant from the state, but basically a matching funds that is being paid from the Rotary Foundation. Since the parameter had changed, I felt it needed to come before the board for ratification that we still are willing to pay the $1,750 for the scholarship. So if I may, Mr. Chairman, I move that since the parameters have changed, we ratify the $1,750 that we've already paid as a matching grant. Instead of a matching grant, now it would be the $1,750 to match the amount that the Rotary Foundation is paying for the award for the 2 scholarships that were paid from this money.
So would you restate your motion, please?
Yes, I move that we ratify the $1,750.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded to ratify the spending of the $1,750 on the scholarship in conjunction with the Rotary Community Foundation. Further discussion? Jim, are you still on? Public comment? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. Commissioner Kanda?
Aye.
Commissioner Prince?
Aye.
Commissioner Flower votes aye. Opposed? Say nay. Motion carries.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Yes, that expenditure, that $1,750 has been ratified for the scholarship. Yeah, I've got about 6 screens open, and I'm telling you, it is a battle. So we will move on then. We struck the consideration of the compensation for public health, so we'll move on to consideration of hiring the emergency manager. What is the group's pleasure?
Well, I'll take it if you want me to.
Go ahead.
I would move that we, having interviewed and rated and ranked all our great candidates, that we offer the OEM job to candidate number 3.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to offer the OEM manager's position to candidate number 3. Discussion. So I would, and I appreciate the motion in the form that you made it, sir. We had talked about until the discussion and a decision was made to address the candidates by number and not by name. We will get to that at some point, but I just want everybody listening in to be patient with us here so that we can speak appropriately, I think, and have a conversation if that's what the commission chooses to do about candidates. So, gentlemen, any discussion about the motion?
I do, sir, if I may.
Go ahead, yes.
Thank you. I had a hard time with this, and it finally dawned on me what my problem was. The person that we're picking to replace our outgoing office emergency manager has a huge, huge pair of shoes to fill. I was just thrilled with the previous manager. In fact, so was the state. That's why they grabbed her and moved her up into a much more responsible position. So when I interviewed these 4 candidates, and I need to say I think all 4 candidates were very, very good. We did a good job vetting those and choosing the ones to interview. So I had a lot of trouble with this, but I finally came to the conclusion that candidate number 3 certainly meets the requirements of the job. We had input from Christy Coleman, who weighed very heavily on me. So I feel very comfortable with the decision to nominate number 3, which you did, Mr. Kanda. So I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you, sir. Yeah, I appreciated that process. I thought it went pretty smooth. Was impressed with a couple of the interviewees. I kind of had to get out of the way of myself because I feel like we go back to what's best for this county. And I think in the scheme of things, I think what's best for this county is to offer this position to candidate number 3. Wholeheartedly would support that, and I just think we got to get this position filled and get moving and get those ladies in. Sorry, I jumped into public health because she spent so much time over there helping them. Sorry about that misstatement, but anyway, I would concur and would ask if there's any further comment.
I'll make a quick comment. I think candidate 3 was exceptional, and we're lucky to have a candidate be able to fill those shoes that Jay mentioned. That is in the a resident of this county and with a great resume, and I look forward to having that resume and that person introduced to the county at some point, so they will understand the value that that person brings to the table. So I wholeheartedly endorse candidate number 3 and look forward to the vote.
Yeah, I think you bring up a good point too, sir, if I may. Because we've recently hired a director of public health, and obviously it looks like we're going to hire a manager for the Office of Emergency Management, maybe we could invite both of those individuals to an appropriate commissioner meeting and get their face in front of the public and get a name to a face as well.
Yeah, I agree, and I intended to do that from a health board point of view, but we ought to do it both. And I think both candidates also, if you look at the resumes and the backgrounds and the need that we have, are going to have a great relationship to build together. So I really believe we will have both offices be, quote, world-class Custer County world-class organizations. Thanks.
Further comment? Public comment?
I have a comment.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
I don't know who candidate number 3 is, obviously, but I would like to speak on behalf of Adrian Washington. I've gotten to know him very well over the past year and a half or so, and in so doing, I've gotten to know his talents, his skill set, and his ability to work with people. And I have nothing but great comments for his abilities. And that also goes, I think, very much to his extensive training and background that is, in my opinion, entirely relevant to this position. He has, I've witnessed his significant skill set and his ability to work with people, his team management skills as well as team development skills. more importantly, his ability to work well in community outreach and volunteer development. And I think for this office in carrying out the emergency plan, a team of volunteers is vital.
Would agree.
I would very much encourage the Board of Commissioners to vote unanimously for Mr. Washington to be the manager of the Office of Emergency Management.
Okay, thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Your time, and
You
thanks
bet.
for the opportunity to speak.
You're welcome. Thanks for being here, Bill. Appreciate it. Further public comment?
Yeah, this is Bob Hollingsworth. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, sir.
Okay, all my career I've had the opportunity to be involved in many agency, interagency, and multinational coalition plannings for contingency planning. And I think it's imperative that our emergency planning office is involved in the most qualified individual that we can possibly reach out and touch. As I look at Adrian Washington's resume, I see that he has the kind of qualifications the person I would seek out to be a part of that. And I think he's an extremely qualified guy, and I'd like to make a recommendation for him. But also, one other little recommendation, I would also recommend that the commissioners involve the sheriff's office, the sheriff in the decision-making process, because they work very closely with him, and I think that input would be very valuable. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you for your comments. Anyone else? Public comment? I guess I'll have a question before we move on, gentlemen. And it's a process question. Are you comfortable with voting on the motion that's on the floor and then making a decision about the salary that we're going to offer, or do you want to do the salary conversation as part of the hiring process? Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, I would prefer to make the selection of the individual and then discuss the salary range, or salary to offer. I'm sorry. I didn't
That's
mean
okay.
range.
Yeah, I almost said range myself. I just get caught up in that. Commissioner Kanda, your thoughts?
I agree.
Okay. All right. Further comment from the public about the motion to offer the candidate, the OEM manager position to candidate number 3? Thank you. Hearing no further public comment, gentlemen, we will proceed to vote on offering the OEM manager's position to candidate number 3. All in favor say aye. Commissioner Prince? I'm sorry, Commissioner Kanda?
Aye.
Yeah, Commissioner Prince?
Aye.
Commissioner Flower votes aye. Motion carries. Council, do you feel it's appropriate now that we've made that vote official, we can announce that candidate's name and move forward?
Yes, now is the correct time to do that, although this is obviously subject to him accepting it once you've agreed on what the
Correct.
salary would be.
Yeah, we voted to offer the job.
Right.
Yeah. Do we want to wait until we have confirmation of acceptance of that job before we announce the name?
He needs to know what he's going to be offered to make that.
No, I'm talking about the name. Should we? I know in the past we have held off to announce that until that individual has been contacted, but I defer.
I think I think it would be okay to go ahead and announce the name now. If there is an impasse regarding salary, then it comes back to you, and you still have 3 other candidates that you could consider.
I'm not getting any comment.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
There's a chat that just came
Oh.
through, which I thought was very apropos, and I appreciate it. Haven't even made it yet. You see it?
Oh, I see it.
Okay, so with that then, Chair will announce the results. The decision has been made by the commissioners to offer the position of emergency manager to Adrian Washington. I would ask that Kara contact our human resource finance director and asked if she can get confirmation of that. Thank you. So with that, we will move on. I suspect we'll get an answer maybe before the end of the meeting. I hope so, because that would be fun to.
Should we discuss salary?
Yes, so in the meantime, I would think that it would be appropriate to talk about salary.
Thank you, gentlemen.
You bet, Bill, thank you.
Comments, Bill. And Bob.
Yeah, our salary range was 45 to 55. Gentlemen, for conversation, have any thoughts about that?
I don't have a problem. I think given the qualifications and all that we can discuss whatever it is, but I think it's appropriate for the top end, personally, 55,000.
And I feel mid-range would probably be appropriate since the candidate that we've selected doesn't have direct OEM experience. He hasn't acted as an OEM in the past, to the best of my recollection. So I'd feel comfortable in the mid-range, but I don't think it really, I'm fine any way we want to go on this. He's obviously the qualified candidate.
Let me shoot a text over to Miss Donna real quick. Give me just a second, gentlemen.
Want to take a break while you're doing that?
Yeah, maybe we should. Let's do that. Without objection, then, gentlemen, we will recess for 5 minutes. Good point. Thank you.
No sense wasting their time.
No, that's great. Thanks. We'll come back to order. We were in the process of discussing a salary range, a salary. The range has already been set. So we were discussing a salary. Commissioner Kanda had suggested 55,000. Jay, did you have some comment about that? And if you did, I don't remember exactly what it was.
Well, my comment was, since he doesn't have direct experience as an OEM, I thought maybe mid-range would be more appropriate. I hate to start someone at this top range because then it's hard for them to move up as we have that opportunity.
I hear you there. However, if you look at his resume, he's got probably more experience leading OEM type jobs, including OEM above that, because he was the fire, the marshal. He was, all the things that he was the leader on.
Very impressive
So,
resume. There's no question with that.
But as far as the county goes, you're right. He doesn't understand that yet, and he told us that in the interview that he is. That's his first job, is getting up to speed on that. So I don't have a problem. If you want to, and I think the announcement even stated that there's a probation of X months if you wanted to use that as something. But I think I think the top end is still appropriate personally, because
It's just there's nowhere to go. Once you start at the top,
it's his choice.
where do you go? I mean, so I don't have I'm not. This is not a burning issue for me at all. I'm just trying to think about how we have done other employees that we've hired, and I want to try and be appropriate. I'm really concerned when you start someone at the top of the scale. If we want to do something different down the road, we have to change the scale, and I don't know if that's ever appropriate. So those are just the comments that I'm thinking about.
Yeah, I guess I have some angst, and maybe I'm out in left field. That's why I brought up the question of when we wanted to have a conversation about the salary. I just don't know what's most appropriate. Decide what we're going to pay for the position and then go hire somebody, or hire somebody and then decide what we're going to pay. It's just a little awkward for me.
Well, if I can respond to that comment, Mr. Chairman, I understand exactly where you're coming from, but the person that we hire, in my opinion, dictates where in the schedule, where in the range they fall. So I felt the appropriate thing to do is let's get the person on that we choose. Then let's figure out, based on that person's experience and background and all the other things, go ahead and make that decision. So that's why I suggested we talk about the person first and then the range second. I'm fine with whatever.
Okay.
She's waiting and giving her salary to make the phone
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. So I would move that we offer candidate number 3 a starting salary of $50,000 a year.
And I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded to offer a salary of $50,000 a year. Discussion.
I call the question.
Question's
I'm
been.
tired. We don't need to argue about it. That's just.
I don't know that anybody was arguing.
I don't think
we
we need
were
to
in
debate it. That's all
discussion.
my point. I'm good with it.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded for previous question. This ends all debate and moves to an immediate vote. If passed, all in favor say aye. Of previous question, Commissioner Kanda?
Aye.
Commissioner Prince?
Aye.
Commissioner Flower votes aye. Motion carries. All in favor of offering the salary of $50,000 a year for the Office of Emergency Management say yes. Before I call the vote, I need to inform the public they don't get a comment on this because it's previous question. That ends all debate. Nobody gets to comment. Commissioner Kanda?
Aye.
Commissioner Prince?
Aye.
Commissioner Flower? Aye. Motion carries. Salary set at $50,000 a year. Ms. Hobby will now reach out to candidate number 3 and seek confirmation. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you. I just want to say, in most organizations, salary is a very sacrosanct number, and it's not told to other people, and employees are asked not to discuss salaries between each other. However, in a public forum like this, salaries are posted, so it's not like we're trying to circumvent what most people in private industry understand. I just want to make that comment.
Exactly. Transparency.
Right, and everybody's
Absolutely
public.
correct.
It's public knowledge that everybody gets paid in this
That's what
county.
he said, yeah.
Which is just to
Exactly.
reiterate that, so.
Right. I just wanted to let people, I didn't want people to feel like in
And
private,
normally-
we keep it very quiet.
And also, normally, even in the county, and I've seen it both ways, we offer a position to somebody and a salary, and then you negotiate the salary if there's a window to do that, and we could still do that.
Yeah.
But, it depends on what he comes back and accepts. So, but I'm just making that point. It's not a bad thing.
Okay, give me just a second here. So we'll move on while we're kind of waiting here in some hiatus. Anything else, gentlemen, to come before the group?
I have none, sir.
Okay.
None here either.
Yeah,
Good
I
meeting
do,
so far.
I do have, according to our schedule, let me pull it up so I can speak intelligently here real quick. Hold on. August the 28th, our BOCC meeting is scheduled with a staff meeting afterwards, led by Commissioner Prince. Do you have a feel, do you want to try to have that staff meeting, sir, or
Well,
what's your thoughts?
I always like to have the staff meetings because it gives the staff an opportunity, a one-on-one, to talk about issues they may have that they don't have an opportunity to talk about. My concern is, of course, social distancing and that type of thing. So usually staff meetings are in person, and with as many people, we fill the room. So, I would think if we could do it maybe in the courtroom, I'd be in favor of it. If not, maybe we would postpone it until such time as we could.
For that particular meeting? From here forward, Jay?
Well, I'm concerned about social distancing.
Right.
You're talking about August 28th.
I'm
Okay.
talking about just August 28th, but, it's not a bad discussion for the
Yeah,
future.
We probably ought to have a discussion because the courtroom isn't all that big either. If we really want to move, we ought to look at something like the all-purpose room at the school or the Saddle Club building or something if we really want the public to show up.
Well, it's not the public, it's a staff report, or a staff
Or
meeting.
staff, well, in this
Yeah.
case, you were talking, but you
I'm
you
talking
were
about
talking
strictly
everything.
staff, but
Oh, okay.
we usually have enough people in here that
Yeah.
could not do
No,
it
I agree with that.
with social
You're
distancing.
just talking about staff.
Yeah, so I'm just talking about staff meetings. I like them. We sometimes hear issues that we're unaware of,
Yep.
good and bad, and so I like to have them. I like to have
Good
the
idea.
opportunity for our department heads to speak to us at any time. So,
Do we know the schedule on the 28th?
I have no idea, sir.
I may go ask,
Schedule for,
For the
oh, the
courtroom.
courts? Oh,
make a decision, and or
we
Carol, why
can,
don't you ask?
if it's available at 1 o'clock
I
on
would,
the
I would
Otherwise,
almost rather ask the staff if they feel that one is necessary or they would like to have it. I mean, I would like to make myself available if they do, but I'm not pushing myself on
Well,
them.
we ought, before you do that.
Well, why don't
know
we
that it's
check the
available.
availability
Okay,
of the
right.
courts,
Yeah,
and
fine.
then it's up to you.
Yeah, that's fine.
I would suggest, what I do when I'm
Yeah.
on the schedule, I'd check with Kelly and get a feel from her what she thinks, and
Right.
but certainly I would defer to you to do
Sure.
whatever's appropriate there. I would support having it. I would support if you decide that you shouldn't have it, that's fine.
Right.
I would go along with either one. So
Hello,
The other-
Jack, how are you?
the other thing then I wanted to bring up was our
All with the,
September 16th meeting is currently on the schedule for Wetmore. Now, I know we had talked about moving our meetings here, but I can't remember if we said indefinitely or what. So
I can remind you.
I'd like to have some conversation about that as well.
It was made by motion and it was approved unanimously that we would not have meetings outside this room for the foreseeable future. So that we would need to revote that if we chose to do that.
So September's in the foreseeable future in our minds. We're okay. We don't need to notify those folks.
I believe that's appropriate. I really feel like I'm neglecting Wetmore, and I don't want to do that because it is difficult for those folks. But I suspect they have phones. I mean, I don't suspect. I know they have phones, and they can join us just like all the rest of the public. So unless the Russian vaccine turns out to be a panacea and we all have and are cured between now and then, I would recommend we maintain the social distancing and try and stay as safe as we possibly can.
Okay, yeah, we just have two more meetings, obviously September 16th and then October the 21st was scheduled. So by consent then, can we agree we're not going to hold those meetings in Wetmore?
I agree.
Okay, so I get a affirmative on those two dates. So through the end of the year, we will continue to meet in the court commissioner's boardroom here in the county building. And then I guess I just wanted to mention, Kelly and I had this conversation of why we had this meeting today instead of on Friday. And as I recall, and I think Kelly agreed that we did that, or not this meeting, I'm sorry, the meeting on the 28th, instead of the 31st, which is the last business day of the month, which would be when we normally have that. I think we made that decision when we set our calendar last year to just give us some separation so we don't have 3 meetings in a row. It's on the schedule for the 28th, 1st, and 2nd. So we were trying to sort out why that was, and that was the best of my recollection.
I have no issue with the date.
And then I just want to publicly say that our budget hearings are scheduled October 13th through the 16th. And so I know that Donna is getting her packages ready to send out to all the department heads. So we'll get geared up and move forward with that budget hearing in October as well. So. Okay, if we do not get confirmation here, I think we'll move on then and look at adjournment.
Did you get a hold of her?
She's calling.
Just a comment, if I may.
Go ahead.
One nice thing that Mr. Washington told us during the interview process that he could be available immediately. So I'm looking forward to, if he accepts, getting him on board quickly and start moving forward. We're moving into fire season. We also have to work closely with public health on the COVID. So the sooner we have a qualified candidate like we have offering the job to, I think the better it'll be for the county.
Thank you. I think we'll go on then while we're kind of waiting out, Ms. Donna, see if there's any public comment to come before the group at this time. Very weird. Is there any public comment to come before the commissioners?
Everybody's content.
Well, I have, can say I had your picture on my computer only.
Really?
Yeah, it was the only one that was there. So I had, I can't exit my full screen for some reason, so it's being weird.
I'm showing that Cindy Flower is the only other person who is on.
Oh, I've got
Zoom.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Wait, maybe I'm wrong. No, I'm wrong. Adrian Washington's on, Dale Mullen's on, Elizabeth Green, Joni Liebman is on. My mistake. I didn't realize it scrolled.
Gentlemen, what's your pleasure? You want to take another recess and give Ms. Donna a few minutes, or do you want to move on?
Sure. We're earlier than normal with the meeting, so I would say let's give Ms.
So
Hobby
by
a few extra
consent,
minutes.
we will be in adjournment. I'm sorry, we'll be in recess.
Suspense is killing me, but I got company, so I'm going home.
Appreciate it. I just also wanted to say was very impressed and, for lack of a better word, because we've sat through a lot of interviews in the last 3 years, I was just impressed. You handled yourself very well. You dressed appropriately, very articulate. Just a good job all the way around. Thank you. Okay, so before we move on, I know you have something you want to bring up. Why don't you do that, and then I'll bring up my point.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was neglected during commissioner items. I had a note and I just overlooked it. The town of Westcliff and the town of Silver Cliff have announced dates for their cleanup day. I'm remiss in not remembering what those dates are. I was specifically asked in Westcliff, do they need to come back and get reauthorized for waiving the landfill fees? And I told them I did not feel that was necessary. I hope I did not overstep my bounds since we previously approved it. It was just a date that we didn't have correct at the time. So that's going to be back on for both towns, and barring me overstepping my bounds, I told at least Westcliff that we would still honor the waiving of the landfill fee.
Was Brian, our manager, out there when we voted, or was Rusty still in the position?
Brian was there, I believe.
He was just coming on
Yeah.
because he was at that.
Okay. Well, I would assume that we'll at least have the dates sent to us at some point, and then we can act.
I was told the date. I'm remiss in not remembering what it was.
But for just one town, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
I'm part of the Silver Cliff
Okay.
decision, but I know that their procedure is going to be slightly different this year. That was part of the conversation, but I don't remember their date either. It may even be the same day. I'm not positive.
Okay. Well, personally, I don't have a problem with continuing that approval, but I'd like to know the dates before we say just go ahead. So I would appreciate them coming back to us before we move forward. The other thing I have then is conversation about how do we want to move forward in the foreseeable future of hosting these meetings. Do you want to continue to try this Zoom platform? Is it too complicated? Are we overloading our system? Do you want to get rid of the conference call number and strictly go to Zoom? Or what's your feelings about that, gentlemen?
We thought both systems would work together. That's not the case, apparently, because they're getting a lot of feedback. We're not being able to use the microphone function on the Zoom. Everybody else can dial into the phone. But that one day, the phone didn't work at all. So the dilemma is we got a lousy system. And we do need to keep, if we're going to keep meeting in this room, we have to have the public be able to hear us. So I probably the simple solution is to go back to the phone. Unless you want to try Zoom by itself.
If I may, I have terrible angst with this. I think the phone system with the microphone sticking at the speaker on our phone is insufficient. I was hoping Zoom would work, but doing a combination seems to, it appears maybe it's working better. I really would like to get some feedback from the folks who were on the meeting. I've been involved in many Zoom meetings that seem to work just fine using just Zoom and the microphones on your computer and Zoom. So I would say if we abandon Zoom, I really would like to have authorized Vern, our IT professional, to come up with a much better system on microphones, speakers, communication, because I feel the phone system, the way it's working now, is just not sufficient. That's my opinion.
Yeah, if you think about it, our 3 computers are within 6, 7, 8 feet of each other, and they can hear each other's computer. And that may be an issue. Maybe it's, I don't know whether other people do it in close proximity. Maybe they put on earphones.
Yeah, I don't know the answer.
Yeah, I'm not real thrilled about this combination either, so I wouldn't be opposed to just going strictly to a Zoom platform on one meeting. I mean, I sit in on 20 Zooms a week, it seems like, and have very little problem with that. I just think it's this combination thing that's killing us, so I don't know. I'm frustrated that we cannot start a meeting appropriately. We started it on time today, but certainly bogged down at the beginning, and that irritates me no end, so.
Well, maybe we ought to have IT, whether it's Vern or Alex, with everybody else off, just these three computers connected, maybe one to Kelly's office. Let's talk and see if there's a feedback issue. And then try Zoom again.
I think that's certainly a good suggestion. Really, I'd like to give it to our IT guy and say, fix it, it's not working. And just leave it at that and let them come up. And if they come with a budget because we have to buy a directional mic or we have to do something else, hang microphones from the ceiling in front of each of them, whatever. I don't care. We got to fix this. This is terrible.
Yeah, so if we take your approach, sir, then I'm assuming that we're going to give them the authorization to decide what platform we're going to host our next meeting on. We have to get some decisions made so that we can get the information posted on this agenda. That was one of the problems today. We did not get the Zoom information on that agenda in time. So I don't know. Personally, I'd like us to make a decision about how we want to host the next meeting and move forward. But if you want to defer to IT, that's okay too. Let's decide what day we're going to know exactly what platform and get that information on the agenda. Those are my opinions. That's all they are.
Time to work it. Let's don't pick one for them. Let's let them figure it out to get the right one to work fast.
I mean, at least a week before the meeting, we ought to have something in place or something in the works. If they say, well, I had to order a piece of equipment or whatever, we know it's in works. So I would say let's turn it over to our professionals and let them come back to us with a solution at least a week prior to the next meeting.
Let's make sure we answer the emails, find them. I will. I'll make sure we coordinate it so we can get agreement by the week before.
Okay. And then, Ms. Kelly, can we get an agenda 3 or 4 days before the meeting, knowing that most likely it's going to change? Here's my problem as a commissioner. I utilize those early agendas to start putting my own board packet together. If you don't have official stuff, I'll go back and dig my files up, attach them to that agenda, and it would be better for me. I'm just speaking for myself. I don't know about the other commissioners, but I know it's a pain when you start having to post 3 or 4 agendas because we get 3 different agendas additions on the day before, so it does get to be a problem. But I would appreciate having the opportunity to look at whatever we have, even if it changes. At least I'd have a leg up. Just a comment.
I suggest, Kelly, that you always say, here's the agenda, and it's got the date. Just put RVE1, and then, or version VV1, and then we could have changed to VV2 or whatever. That way we know the latest version is, you could say, here's the latest version, V3, and then everybody ought to be able to find it. Otherwise, we just pull up the same thing, and if we go back to a previous date, it'll be
Yeah, and that's why I wasn't
same date.
doing very many of them, because it seemed like
Right.
before you guys were really confused
Going
about
back and
what
forth,
one,
right.
or which
So just
one,
put
which.
version
Right.
1, version 0 to start with.
Yeah, I try to keep track of mine by the email date and time, but
Hard to do. I don't know why, but my phone, Custer County Mail, if I use it, it won't show up on the computer, so I miss it. Really? Yeah, Vern said that's part of the server. Once you draw it, it doesn't have it to put out to another computer that doesn't know.
I get it 3 ways. I get it on my
too. But I don't, yeah, same here. Well, I don't have it on my home computer, but I do, these two don't sync up.
Okay. Anything else to come before the group, gentlemen? Chair would entertain a motion to adjourn. It's been moved and seconded to adjourn. All in favor say aye. Commissioner Kanda?
Aye.
Commissioner Prince? Commissioner Flower? Aye. Motion carries. Meeting's adjourned.